The lives of a Northampton couple who are fighting extradition to the United States over an alleged expenses fraud have been shattered. Paul and Sandra Dunham have appealed to the extradition at High Court and are awaiting the final outcome. If they fail, they could be extradited within weeks. I spoke with the pair at their Northampton home earlier today to find out how they are coping with the ordeal. So this has gone on for 5 years now. How would you describe the experience for you?
It's been a living nightmare. It's almost been as if we're on some nightmare extended soap opera, because the whole process is just so unbelievable and so unreal. I mean, it just defies any common sense or logic. We don't know what the next day is going to bring. And we've become increasingly desperate.
Any day now you could hear the news whether your appeal has been successful or not. What is the mood in the Dunham's household at the moment?
It's dire, because we don't know when that decision is going to be made. We are grateful that the judges are taking time to consider it, which gives us a little bit of hope, but it is only a small glimmer of hope, because the bar to extradition is so heavily biased towards the requesting country. It's infuriating when we see news broadcasts on the television where people in the US are convicted of murdering British people and yet not even arrested and allowed to still remain free. Convicted criminals in this country are able to avoid being extradited back to their own countries on the basis of their human rights. And Sandra and I sit here as a married couple who have never until now been out of work. We've always paid our taxes, we've never even had a parking ticket, and we're facing this terrible ordeal. I mean, it just isn't justice. Our family are distraught, and nobody knows what to say to us or how to help us. It's just an impossible situation.
You say this has been like a living nightmare for you. How much has it affected your lives?
Completely. We don't have a life.
No, we don't. We don't have. All of our savings have gone. Our house is 100% mortgaged because we've had to raise money to live and to put towards our legal expenses. My wife has just recently found a part-time job.
Which is keeping me alive.
And we get no help from benefits either. It's not as if we're sitting back not working and having large benefit payments. The only benefit we get is a £16 a week tax credit. So we're having to live on handouts from my father and son, and also the part-time income that my wife is earning.
How does that feel for you?
Well, it's dreadful. We've always worked since the day we left education, yeah. And we've worked hard. We've enjoyed good salaries, and we've had a nice life up until now. I just can't tell you how things have changed so much and so unfairly. We've done nothing wrong.
How will you be told if you've been successful in your appeal or not? Will you be given an email or a call?
Our solicitor will be notified.
Are you always checking your phone? Always?
Yes. Just what can you do every time the phone rings or the postman walks onto the drive? You're just like, your stomach churns over because you're thinking, God, is this the call?
If your appeal is successful, could your lives go back to the way they were? Is there any chance of that?
I wouldn't want them to.
No, I think that we've looked back on our life, and we've recognised things that were important to us in the past aren't as important to us now. We've attached different values to things. But even if our appeal is successful, we won't be able to leave this country, because as soon as we leave this country we could be arrested under that same US arrest warrant. So effectively we've become prisoners to this country. Okay, that's not so bad, but it's a definite restriction. Also, finding new employment's not going to be easy, because there's a stigma attached to this whole thing. We were both at senior executive level, and finding those kind of jobs are tough at the best of times, but trying to find those kind of jobs with the stigma that's left behind this is going to be difficult. But having said that, we've kind of made a conscious decision that we don't necessarily want to go back to having that high pressure lifestyle. What we would like to do is just continue to enjoy our family and our pets, and get by in a less pressure type situation, and maybe our health would start to improve as well.
You say hopefully your health would start to improve. You've suffered a few mini strokes, haven't you? Can you describe that? How's that been for you?
It's frightening. The hospital haven't come to any conclusive conclusion what causes it. They think that it's stress induced, and I have these unexpected blackouts. I always know when they're going to happen. I can feel them coming on, and they can be directly tied to situations where my stress level has been increased. Something arrives from the court, or those kind of occasions seem to start it off, and it's terrifying for my wife, because I black out for a few minutes, and she doesn't quite know whether it's just going to be a minor thing, or whether the time's come for something more serious to have happened.
How does that feel for you?
I get very angry, not with Paul, but with the situation, because it's just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. My health hasn't suffered as much as Paul's, but I can't sleep at night because I'm worried that if I go to sleep, sound asleep, he's going to be dead, because he might need me. We both don't sleep.
You said a few weeks ago that you'd rather die than rot in a US jail. Is that how you still feel now?
Yeah, this has been a very controversial thing that we've said, and indeed the Crown prosecution were quite blunt about it during the hearing. And they tried to argue that, hey, this is a rational decision that Mr. and Mrs. Dunham have made, and should that be something that the court really are considering? And it is a rational decision. We've discussed it a lot, but the reality of life is that, if we're extradited to the US, we will lose our home, because there's going to be nobody who could maintain the mortgage. All of the possessions that are in the home would go, because there would be nowhere to keep them. People that aren't pet lovers may find it hard to understand, but we have 2 dogs that are a part of our lives.
A very special part of our lives.
They will probably have to be put down or rehomed, and we're confident that we would end up in a situation where 2 or 3 years from now we would suddenly be being put back on an aeroplane and sent back to the UK with nothing. There's no compensation if you're found to be innocent. And what would we face when we got back to the UK? We'd be in our mid-60s. We'd have no home, no furniture, no possessions, no money.
We'd have nothing.
No jobs. Just doesn't bear thinking about. There's no prospect of finding work at that age of any substance that would allow us to even begin to rebuild, some kind of a normal life. And so faced with that consequence, you know, we say, why put ourselves through the ordeal of the separation and the confinement in prison?
Does that scare you, the thought of, you know, possibly being extradited to the US and coming back, you know, to nothing?
Yes,
yeah, of course it does.
Yeah.
How would you feel?
Yeah, you know, because what would we come back to? The best we would, you know, the best we could hope for is that we would be given some kind of, you know, sheltered housing somewhere, and you know, we're workers. You know, we wouldn't want to be, you know, having to rely on a handout. We've never done that in our lives.
Okay.
How are you getting by each day at the moment? How are you coping?
We're hoping that one of us is having a better day than the other one, to be honest with you, because that helps pull us through. On the days like yesterday was a good example where we were both feeling really down. Then those days are just a waste of space because you don't have the effort to get dressed or get on and do something. But fortunately, it seems that one or the other of us seems to be able to pick the other one up when they're having a down day.
Going to work helps me. My managers or the directors of the company know about it. I've told them about it. They're very supportive of me. They don't talk about it all the time. I mean, obviously they all know about it. Everyone knows about it. It's in the press everywhere. But they don't talk to me about it unless I need to talk to them about it. So I just throw myself into my work. You know, I like working there. The people are lovely. Don't know what else to tell you.
But it's just awful because you just don't know. You know, money's very, very short, and you know, every day we're faced with financial challenges, and you just don't know because, you know, for all we know, tomorrow the decision could be made, and you know, something terrible could happen.
How do you feel now?
Devastated, very frightened, and disappointed, because, you know, we've worked hard all our lives, we've tried to be good citizens, we've even voted for the current government to be in power, which is an irony in itself, I guess. And also, you know, before us, you know, many people lost their lives in wars and are still losing their lives today in wars to fight for freedom. And, you know, we're being denied that right.